welcome back, everybody. We are so glad to be back in front of you guys. We took last week off because, again, we want to make sure that we are going to do good things. Before we all get into that, I am Travis Burkhalter, go by Berkio. This is my beautiful wife, Brianna. And this is our show, Happily Ever After Hours. Babe, we back, and I think this one here is going to be a good one going into what everybody likes to in February.
Absolutely. Fresh start. Speaking of fresh start, I haven't heard you go by Berkio in a minute.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Thanks. You know what I'm saying? I
was nostalgic, and it goes with what we're about to talk about because Berkio was kind of part of your Couch Talk podcast, which is partly how I swiped right on him.
Yeah, it was what got me in the door.
Yeah,
right? It's what I think. Okay, he seems put together.
Yeah,
and he talks eloquently, as you always tell me. I sometimes don't think I do. I stumble and stutter over my words quite a bit.
I think we all do.
And I mumble. I'm a mumble talker, not a mumble rapper.
You are a mumbler. I was like, what did you say? Like,
it's been my whole life. It's been my whole life. I think that's kind of where Robin gets it. I'm thinking about it now. I think that's.
She does do that, yeah.
I think Roman does it too.
It's a Eugene.
Roman does it too.
So annoying.
Oh my gosh. Realization.
Anyways.
My fault.
We're over here having a parent moment. You know what?
That gets on my nerves, and I'm the cause.
Well,
but anyway.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But for those of you that don't know, we did meet on a dating app.
Yeah.
I would shout them out, but I seen this little girl and they were like, shout out your school, and she was like, they're not paying me, so I'm not shouting the dating app out because they are not endorsing us.
They are not.
If they ever endorsed us, I'd shout it from the
all the time.
But
yeah, we met online and it was a good time. Again, we're gonna. I hate that we always gotta go, but we are. See, I got divorced. I was by myself, and I was like, you know what? I need to find a good one.
I mean, we gotta tell
kind
your origin story, my origin story, and how we, it's fine.
And so
it goes with what we're, talking about.
But
wait, before you get into it, did we introduce what the actual title is?
I was just about to tell you. I was just about to tell you.
We're so excited.
I was just about to tell you what the name of this one's called. It's called Swipe, right? And obviously, in the day of dating.
Did you tell them the whole series name?
Okay, I didn't tell you that part. But again, it goes with what we're. Well, okay. What's the vibe is the series, right? Because again, we want to have good vibe with people. And again, I know that word got played out a couple of years ago, but it is still prevalent because I got to be able to get along with the person that I'm wanting to be with, right?
Everybody talks about love, and I learned about life.
I learned a lot in that relationship that I was in previously, which was a marriage. It was a failed marriage, but I learned from it. I grew from it, and I knew what I wanted when I went to the next season of my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get messed up. And again, not perfect. I'm sure I did it quite a bit in my youth.
Quite a bit.
Where, I rushed it. I rushed the process, and I don't think that is ever a good thing to do in anything, because once you rush it, it usually turns to poop, and so, what's the vibe? We want to make sure that everything is kosher, everything is good. The title of this episode is Swipe. So we wanted to make sure, we swiping right, everybody understands it. Swipe left. You got to be able to have discernment more than just outer appearance on people, right? Again, I know we're in the social media world and everything is very fake and fabricated, but you can't fabricate realness.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I got to have a question. I've been thinking about this question all day. What I was going to ask you, because we haven't had a question. Okay. What... Now, you gotta be honest.
Now you forgot it.
No, I got it. I actually got it because I kept saying it in my head all day. the mom brain is like trying to get me. But what What did you think? But like this is before we got together. What did you think was a deal breaker for you that you ended up like being okay with that I did?
I could be petty right now, but I'm not gonna do it.
I don't know what it. I don't know what it's gonna. Don't say my ankles.
I wasn't gonna even tell the people what it was.
We'll get to that in a second with the story. You're like ankles, okay?
But okay, sorry. I was just cracking up in my head. What was the question? What was the deal breaker?
What is a deal breaker that you had like in your head that you thought was like a big deal, but then I may have had a version of it or something that you realized was you could handle?
That's a good question. I'm sure since you thought about it with, all day, I'm sure you'll have like.
I'll go first. So before Travis, before I know I like to put you on the spot. Before Travis, I did not want to date someone with kids because
that's fair. It's a fair assessment.
Oh, just the baby mama drama. You just never know what the situation is. Also, depending on the age of the kid, you don't want to deal with it. You're not my mama type thing. All of that stuff. You're still gonna have your issues and things that you have to work out, and you go through phases and stuff. But like, that was a big thing for me. I was just like, I'm not bringing kids into a relationship. I don't really want to deal with someone that has kids. And I've talked to people that have had kids before. Trying to like see like, oh, maybe, and both other times it was no. The first time the dude was like, take care of my child. No, sir, like no. And the second time was a baby mama drama, and he had two, and I was like,
yeah, that's crazy.
Nick. So I was kind of like, no. And then I seen Travis on the app. And I did my whole little search before I even like swiped right. I like kept the app open and I was like, let me look at his Instagram. Let me see
if I can find him.
Yep, and I found him on Instagram and I started going through his Instagram and I seen a little kid and I said, but he was a baby. So then I was like, well, I mean, if we did get together, he wouldn't know any different, so maybe. And I was just like, we'll see. And it ended up, I mean, me and Roman have our moments and our tiffs, but I mean, I feel like I've been around him since forever. Like he was barely one, so it's, it's not as much of a deal breaker as I thought it was beforehand.
I mean, and that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recommend it if you don't think you can handle it because it is a lot. It's very, it's mentally and emotionally a lot. But I wouldn't say, I would say don't necessarily discount a good man because of it, depending on the situation. Like once we talked, like I knew it was because he was like married and it was in the marriage and all that stuff. Now if it was just somebody going around all willy-nilly, it would have been a little different because I would have been like, you don't have your priorities together.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's fair. I've been thinking over here and
see, I was long-winded. I was trying to give you time.
You did. You had enough time. But I feel like I think the biggest one for me is once I realized who I was being God's child and the allowance that he's given me to be able to, be vulnerable with him. I knew at that moment I needed a woman that would allow me to be vulnerable because I needed to be able to truly be my authentic self.
You don't think I was letting you be vulnerable?
No, that was just like before I knew who you were. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I was like, I gotta be able to be with the person that's gonna allow me to be vulnerable.
I got you.
Because no, like we talked about this earlier. The first time I cried in front of you, I still remember it, right? It was when Nipsey Hussle died. Okay.
I still remember it too. I can see the whole scenario.
Yeah, man. R.P. Nip. Anywho, but I beforehand knew I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In previous relationships, it's not very advisable for men to show that vulnerability.
There was no safe.
There wasn't a safe space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I think that's a big deal for a lot of men that they don't really realize that they need to be able to be vulnerable with their woman.
Yeah. And I don't think women realize that, like, how important that is, like to give that sense of safety.
And so I knew, like, I didn't know if that's something you had, right? But I knew that's something that I needed.
I can see that because I'm very, like, you got to get to know me.
Yeah. And so that was something that was very big on my part because I was like, I want to be able to be my full self. And if I can do that, then I can constantly grow into the person that I'm meant to be. And so I think that was something that was very important earlier on in our relationship when we were hanging out and still getting to know each other and just talking and stuff like that. So the vibe on that part was, I was like, man, I feel like she's that type of person, that type of woman.
I feel like she's amazing. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, for real, I really felt that it was something that with you, it didn't seem as foreign as I was making it in my head. And so I didn't feel like I had to walk on eggshells. I didn't feel like
that's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not even trying to be funny.
Are you? Well, but for real though. But for real, I was just like, man, because I like we spoke on it earlier on my show Couch Talk when I was doing it by myself. I was just going through a lot of things, and I was saying a lot of stuff like what I'm feeling right now in this divorce that I was in that season. It's like I can't be the only man in the world, not even America, in the world that's feeling this.
Right.
Because as much as I hate it, because I do respect the sanctity of marriage and what it brings to a person, if it's done correctly.
Right.
Is that D word? Like it takes everything out of you as a person, and to pick yourself up to want to go back and then do it again. You have to learn from your previous mistakes that you made, and you
gotta reflect.
You have to, right? And you gotta check out the vibe in yourself. You gotta check your own oil. We talked about self-reflection. I think we talked about self-reflection before. And shout out to the Love Club. They talked about it on Wednesday about the self-reflection, about how you have to be able to check yourself. And while I was driving back home from visiting my mother, I was just like, man, that's something that's very vital, and not enough people do it going into relationships or even just going into a new season. Right? Just going into a new season. We're going into a new season here, being in 2025. So, it's just something that's important.
Absolutely. What the seasoned saints say, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Basically. Yeah.
Oh man, I age. Anyways, so let's talk about us for a minute.
Okay.
We're gonna let you guys hear kind of the backstory of us, like why do they vibe so well and stuff like that.
Well, first and foremost, let's go to our scripture passage that helps us to do a good job of actually doing that self-reflection. It is out of the great gospel of John.
Come on, great gospel.
And it is John 7:24. It says, do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. And that is basically having that discernment. Right? I mean, again, everybody has filters. Everybody has that person that they put on, their representative.
Their representative is deadly.
That is finely dressed. That is finely spoken. That is just, hey, they're the cream of the cream. They're the top. That's the best version of themselves. And everybody's going to do that. Everybody's going to show that person. Just because, again, we want to show, have that. It's built into us from a very early age that first impressions are very important.
Gosh.
Right?
That segues into our first date.
Which segues into the first date.
So, I mean, how we want to do this? You want me to just tell the story and then?
Well, I'll start, with just saying, okay, so again, talked about it, being divorced. I was by myself in Norman, Oklahoma, right? And, I was like, I don't really know if I want to get out there, but I was like, I'm a handsome guy, right? I'm going to find a woman, and I want to make sure that this woman is a woman that is, one, godly, that is, two, funny, and that is, three, a person that I am friends with, that I like, and that is very important. You have to like the person. That was very important for me. And I was just like, man, I don't know if I'll be able to find that in Oklahoma. I was contemplating moving. Like, I was like everything.
That's real.
I was like, bro, I'm not gonna find the person that I want and that I need in Oklahoma. Like, I've lived there long enough. It's not gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And so I got onto the app and I'm scrolling, I'm swiping, and I'm just trying to find the one. I found the girl, and I was like, okay, she's cool. She had like 3 kids, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And then she was like, you just got divorced. She's like, I've read it, woo doo woo woo, men. I'm like, I'm different, but okay.
You're hurt. Who hurt you?
Yeah, so I was like, it is what it is. And then I stumbled across this beautiful, tall woman, and I was like, yo, she is fire. I was like, oh my gosh. She's long-legged. I like it. She looks athletic. I don't know if she's athletic, but she looks athletic. It's like, I gotta have me an athletic chick. Gotta do it. Because I went against my better judgment on past stuff. And so I swiped right, and I was like, man, hopefully she likes me. I don't know. Because apparently I'm not the type. I don't know. It's algorithm is not working for me. And so I'm still doing my couch talk, and I'm just doing my thing, man. And I'm just getting all the residue, the residual hurt out, because I think talking is therapeutic. And so when I swiped right, I don't know how many days passed, but it was like in April when she matched me, and I was like, oh.
Okay. It was in April. Pause before you go.
So it was in April. So I was like, oh, bam.
But let me do my part of that part.
Bam. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm in it. I was like, I'm in it. She likes her brother.
Okay, let me tell my viewpoint of that part, and then you can go to the next part. Okay. So for me, dating sucked because I had a type. But it was weird because I had a type, but they all looked different, but they all had the same type of personality.
I know what you mean.
And they were so no shade.
That song "No Type," Ray Shrimp kind of messed up everybody.
Yeah, no shade, but they were very self-centered in all their own ways, and so it just never worked out. And so me and one of my friends, we were just like, we're just gonna get on this app. We're gonna do it for a month. And after a month, if it don't work, like, we just gonna take a year off a date, and we just gonna chill.
Which is actually the same exact spot where I was at. I was like, I'm gonna just worry about me and my child.
So we were just like, okay. And you were like, I'd seen you the first day that I got it. I don't remember how many swipes, but it was the first time I got on there. I remember we were sitting in my condo, me and her, and I was like, okay. So that's, like I said, I kept it open because I was like, that's my type. I like Morris Chestnut. He's giving me Morris Chestnut.
I know.
So then I left it open, and I went because he had his Instagram on his profile. So I went to his Instagram, and I was scrolling through, and I was like, who's this girl in here? Come to find out it was his sister, so I kept moving. And then I seen his son, and then I was like, I already talked about that. And then I was like, okay, I don't know. And then he had a couple of videos, and it was like the comment or the caption was talking about like it was from his podcast. So I was like, So I clicked on it, and I heard his deep voice.
I don't know if it comes off deep right now.
And and he enunciated his words correctly. He didn't say Pacific instead of specific.
Man, that's actually a pet peeve.
Oh, I hate it. I'm like, I can't. So I was like,
words
okay.
in general.
I was okay. I kept scrolling. And then he had a couple pictures from his CrossFit days, and I said, Jesus. So then I went and looked. He had his podcast link. I went in his podcast link and I listened to one. And I was like, okay, he seemed like he got his head on straight. So then I went back. This was like, the app was. Oh, sorry. The app was open for like 2 hours because I was like looking through all your stuff. Like
that's stalkerish, but I like it.
Yep. And then I swiped right, and it instantly matched because he had already did it.
I didn't do all that. I just listen. I went off appearance. What do you say? Do not judge according to appearance. I did.
I did a little bit.
I did. Which again, I think it is having the discernment with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Everybody. I mean, we had.
But then we did. Then the both of us used. We would use righteous, which is just good judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from the discernment.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. And then the app made girls message first, and I was like, oh God. I don't even remember what I said. It may have been something about your podcast. I don't remember what I said.
Know. I don't remember.
Either way.
Now I do remember, which I'm about to go into the next part.
Go ahead.
So we started chopping it up. We exchanged numbers. You know, actually no, we did not exchange numbers. We exchanged Snapchats first.
You're right.
We exchanged Snapchats.
Because my friend was like, don't give him your number.
Yeah.
She's like, he might be crazy. I was like, you know what?
So we had each other's Snapchats for a while, and then I think we was talking through that, and then that's when we exchanged each other's numbers. And so this is April, and we're talking all the way until May, like end of May, and I'm like, oh man, like I go through her Instagram. I'm like, okay, she's funny. She did this, I don't know, corny card karaoke thing that was just had me cracking up, and I was like, yo, this is exactly the type of person I want, because we can sing in the car and be goofy and just, you know, have a good time, like, and have a great vibe, like, and that's again what I was looking for, because I'm like, yo, like this is the type of woman that I want to be with, and you know, I knew what I wanted in a person, but I was like, I don't know if she has all of it, and so we have to meet, and so I'm like, yo, like, can we meet? She's like, well, I got this dance thing, and in my head, I'm like, dance thing?
It was true.
I was like, a dance thing? Like, what do you, like, what kind of dance thing? In my head, before she told me, I'm thinking stripper. I'm just letting you know. Like, I was just like, I didn't know what it was.
Clenches my pearls.
And then you was like, no, it's a dance, and I'm a teacher. And I was like, okay, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Again, because I didn't go all the way through your Instagram. After that, I went all through your Instagram.
And he was like, oh,
and I was like,
dances for the Lord.
Yeah. So then I was like,
a stripper. The audacity.
I know.
I did not know that.
Well, because it's just you at dance, you just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the first thing that goes to your brain, because we are such a vile generation. I guess is the word I'm looking for. But so anyways, I was just like, okay. And then she was like, I gotta go to Dallas, and I'm like, Dallas for dancing? Like, that's crazy. She was like, all right. I was like, all right, it is what it is. In my head, I was like, I'm not gonna stress it. You know, if she is a person that we gonna, you know, link up, then we gonna link up. She ignored me for the next 8 months.
I didn't ignore you.
She ignored me for the next 8 months. Okay, I didn't talk to her at all. She would look at my Snapchats. We would look at each other's Snapchats.
I had to make sure you weren't dating nobody.
Because I remember you looked at the Snapchat when me and my sister went to Kevin Hart in the city, and I remember you wrote something, and we were sitting there talking.
Like,
we sat there and talked about that. So that was like in November. Okay, so it was like 6 months. I exaggerate sometimes. But and I seen her on the Snapchat. She thought she had blocked me, which was hilarious. She went out to a date with a guy, and I'm like, there's 4 people there. Like, there's her, another dude, and another couple. I'm like, oh, she got on a date. So I'm like, you know, it is what it is.
To be fair, because he brings this up all the time. To be fair,
she was talking to somebody, and I figured I was like, listen,
but listen,
I would be a fool to think that this woman is going to be single for this long. That's what I really.
But here's the thing, before you, I had like a rotation. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, you have a rotation where it's like you're not really like serious, but like if you need somebody to go with you to something, you just
hey, hit them up. Hey, you want to go to this ball game?
Yeah.
You want to go to you want to go catch a grab a dinner movie?
But
yeah, I feel that.
But like I liked him from the jump, but again, I was very reluctant about the kid situation, and so I was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for all of that because I know how much I like kids, and I'm gonna get attached to the kid, and if the relationship doesn't work out, I may try to stay in it for the kid, and I don't want to do that. So I was
always a bad idea.
A little reluctant.
Never do that.
Yes, and so, but I was like, I don't want him to like know that I like do stuff with other people, so that's why I thought I blocked him on my Snap story, but apparently.
But yeah, so at that point in time, man, I'm just working and just doing my thing, and again, I'm working on making myself available. Not available. I'm working on making myself better for the person that comes into my life that I want to make my wife. I wasn't trying to still on the streets like I was when I was 20.
Same.
You know what I'm saying? So, wasn't doing what I was doing in college. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? In college, I was a knucklehead. Like she said, I had a whole rotation. So, not a good thing to do once I knew what I wanted to do with the next woman to come in my life, because just got married, just got divorced, and knew I liked the idea of marriage, and I liked marriage, and I wanted to make sure that I do it right the next time. And so it was, again, I was in probably a 575 square foot apartment, maybe 600, something like that.
That little baby was a closet.
You know what I'm saying? And so I was just reading my Bible, playing my video games. I rediscovered who Travis was, and I think that's the big thing.
It.
That's a big thing with a lot of people. Rediscover who you are. If you're older, right? Rediscover what you liked when you were younger. You know what I'm saying? And if you're younger, discover what you like. You know, find out the things that makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are or who you're with. If you can't make yourself happy, nobody else is going to be happy with you. And that's what I realized is I couldn't count on somebody else to be my happiness, and I didn't want to have somebody else count on me to be their happiness, because that's a recipe for disaster. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't really realize that. They say in a relationship, "Oh, I'm not happy." Well, I mean, you're just not a happy person. I don't know how else to put it. You know what I'm saying? You're a miserable person. So if you're a miserable person, when you get somebody else, the misery loves company. It has a reason for a saying for something. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't say happy loves company. You know what I'm saying? Right. Misery loves company. So don't be a miserable person. You know, fix the things you need to fix and work on the things you need to work on. So
yeah. But yeah, to make a long story short, I made him wait till December. So again, we matched in April. We finally went on our first date in December. Mm-hmm. Our first day we went bowling.
Yep.
And it was super fun, but also embarrassing because, again, it's December. It was freezing outside, okay? And I made sure I put lotion on before I left. But you know, when it's cold outside, sometimes that air hits you and you get dry again. And my little ankles was a little out.
They was out.
And they got a lot of it ashy. And it's funny because a lot of my friends, if they're watching this, they would probably laugh because I'm always the one that like, Brianna, put extra Vaseline on or something, because my ankles they can't hold moisture. Anyway, so he held that for a long time. I didn't realize that, but anyways, he was about to not talk to me.
For real though.
For real.
But no.
And I was over here like, oh, it was the best date ever. We're gonna get married.
I know you said you.
I did. I got in the car and I called the friend that we were on the app together, and I was like, I'm gonna marry this guy.
Yeah. You told me and did. But you know the funny thing, and again, right? We went bowling and we had a great time. I remember I was talking to a partner of mine. He was like, "Man, don't go to no movie." He was like, "Bro, go do something active." And I was like,
"Sang to NSYNC."
We sang to NSYNC, and I was like, at that moment, I was like, "Man, she likes music. Like, I like all kinds of music."
Yep. It was, and everything was playing. We was just in there
having a good time and
laughing.
just bowling and just laughing and getting to know each other. And so, at that moment, I was like, man, she's real cool, man. This is like, it's honestly kind of too good to be true type deal.
And that wasn't even supposed to be our date.
It wasn't.
We were gonna go to the museum, but then you didn't want to wait till the weekend because you just wanted to see.
I wanted to meet her so badly. I did.
And I was like, like I was mentally prepared for that weekend.
Yeah.
And then you were like, no. And I was
like, you know what I'm saying? I was listening up to.
I skipped because I hit you up in December. I was like, I did the Hey Big Head.
She did.
Basically.
Yeah,
I didn't say that, but
she's like, how's your podcast coming? And I was like, oh, she listened to my podcast. She wants me. That's really what I said in my head.
I bet you did. I really bet you did.
But no, for real, I was just like, wow, she's actually taking interest in something that I'm doing for fun. And I had no idea really. I mean, I do know why I was doing it, but at the same point in time, I was just like, I just got to get this out.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't go to therapy. I did therapy in college. I do advise people to do therapy. You know, if you do, to talk to somebody. Don't just jump on a podcast like I did, but it is what it is with that, and it landed me my beautiful bride. But I, at the same time, also, I was just excited because I was like, listen, I want to know, like right now, is this a person that I can vibe with? Again, like it was the word of 2018 was vibe. Yeah. And so I was like, man, let's meet up now. Let's do it like tomorrow. And she was like, sure. I was like, bet. She was like, yeah. So we did it.
And I said, yeah, but I was like, I gotta get my hair done.
And so we went out, and again, I got there like maybe 10, 15 minutes before she did because I wanted to be on time early, just so she could see me waiting and know again.
Ooh, you smooth. I didn't know you did that on purpose.
Yeah, man, because I was just like, listen, I was doing everything right, and I'm still trying to do everything right.
He was standing there looking all suave in his Hey Auntie shirt.
That show was a shirt I was wearing.
Yeah, Killmonger shirt.
Don't you remember the shirt?
Again, I said it that night I was going to marry you. What do you mean?
Hey, Auntie. But no, for real. So I was just like, I'm going to be there, get there early, and have everything kind of ready, and then, and you know, go with the flow. And we went with the flow. Like I said, we was singing, dancing, bowling. It was fantastic. And at the end of the night, I was like, you know what? I gotta see if there's any spark. Again, I know that there was with us, like laughing and stuff. But I'll be honest, I'm a sexual person. Okay, that's the happily ever after hours. And so I was like, I gotta get a kiss. I should have been a gentleman. I should have asked. But I pulled her in real close, and I just wanted a little kiss to see it. It didn't even flow right.
It didn't.
It didn't even feel.
I was like, ah!
It didn't flow right, and I was like, yo, this ain't it. It ruined everything. Shout out to this gentleman. I was talking to him. I worked with him. He was like, man, like calm down, bro. Like go on another date with it, man, and just. He was like, don't stress that. Like you probably was. She was probably excited, and she probably got nervous, and I was like, man. I was like nervous, like come on, bro, like how you gonna get nervous? We adults, but
I was nervous. I was so
she was
nervous.
And so then we went on a second date. I'll let her tell this story because
we went to the museum and it was so nice. And he held my hand the whole time.
I did.
And it was just it was nice. It was a nice time.
Mm.
We just hung out that day, and we used to do we did stuff that I know. People now get all in an uproar like, oh, they took me to the Cheesecake Factory or they didn't do the. We used to do stuff for the dollar amount. Like we did free stuff all the time, and it was more fun than
because if you can't
sitting doing dinner. Like we did activities all the time, and it was so much fun.
It was, and we still do. Well, not right now because we're in our parenting phase.
Yeah,
but. It's something that again I think a lot of people gotta get out of. Like right now, it is a monetary dating system.
Yeah.
Right. I seen this thing the other day. This guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you $2,700 for the 27 days we've been together." Bro, what? Dude said, I'm not competing with that.
That's a lot.
I'm not competing with a guy that's been with you for 27 days and gave a woman $2,700. Bro, that's asinine.
And so,
I'm sorry.
And the thing is with that, like,
it's not realistic, man.
It's not realistic, but I think it's giving a false sense of security.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think all women innately want like the security of a man.
Yeah.
But until you really do that self-reflection and kind of mature to realize that security is more than just monetary gifts or money or paying bills. Yes, that's all well and good. Yes.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more with security. That's like your emotional health, your physical, like there's a lot more to it, and I don't think people realize that until you are either with the right person and you figure that out, or you just do that self-reflection and you're like, okay, that didn't work. Like, this person sucked, but they gave me gifts.
Yeah. And another thing, man, is like the thing that I was doing that was really very, I'm not going to say very, because that's bad to put in. The things that I was doing that was instrumental into my growth was I got with married guys, right? I was talking to married men that were happily married men.
Yeah.
That was giving me dang it, why am I putting very in there? That was giving me practical advice, right? And this one that really just threw me, like this dude, he was like married for 40 years. You look at him, you probably wouldn't have knew it because he just didn't look like a guy that was be married for that long. And he was like, man, the thing that you got to learn being a young guy is you have to learn to protect a woman. And I was like, bro, I'm in shape. Like, I know how to protect a woman. Like, I'm not afraid to squabble up. You know what I'm saying? If I have to. And he was like, that's not what I mean. He's like, you got to protect her heart. And I was like, what? He was like, you can do all the things that, that the society tells you. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, but if she doesn't feel that you're protecting her heart, she'll never feel safe and secure with you. And I was like, yo, that's very simple, but it was very deep, and it gosh, I like using very. It was instrumental in the shaping of what I now knew about relationships.
Yeah,
and that's something that I still try to do my very best in when taking care of you. I know sometimes I may come up short, but I always want to make sure you know that he cares for my heart.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's a lot of things that's kind of missing in people's relationships because, again, everybody has walls up, even in marriages. And people have those walls that's up because of past traumas that they have not healed from.
Yeah.
I seen a very, God bless, see, there it is again. I'm going to stop saying it. I saw a video today. It was Marlon Wayans, and he said, I'm not in a relationship to heal your past trauma. And I said, oh my gosh. That's good, because that's not what I want to be in a relationship for, and that's not what I would like for somebody to be in a relationship with.
Because you're like, you end up being an emotional punching bag.
And I become like, I'm cool with talking about stuff that happened, but I'm hoping that you've gotten over it enough to where we can have just conversations.
Yeah, I think there's like a line. Because I think there's a level of healing that you need before you get into a relationship. So you really should, pause before you, start dating someone else or whatever, to reflect on not only yourself but also the relationship, because there may be patterns. Like, I had patterns real bad that we'll get into on another episode for this series. But also just... I think there's a level too that sometimes you need, like when you find the right person, they help heal things that you may not have known that you were dealing with.
And that's different though.
But you have to be with the right person. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that's very. Gosh, I said I was going to say it. I did it again.
Very's just your word.
It's
today.
My word tonight. Need to change it. But that's something that is important. It is vital to a healthy relationship, because if I can't pinpoint the issue that causes that disruption. I'm gonna say, right? That causes that hiccup in the relationship. Then I need to do a better job of self reflection.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that I took and you know it because this is but I've gotten better now, kind of like gearing it towards what we do. But earlier on in our relationship, if we had any disagreements, which we didn't have a lot at all, you know, they came later, and we would face that issue together, you know, and we didn't ever think that it was your fault. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's another thing that you have to check. You got to check. That's a gauge you got to check early.
Yeah.
To say, okay, how are you in a disagreement? Do you see this disagreement as a issue with me or issue with us, or is this an issue outside that we can say, hey, that's what the issue is? And so being able to do that is, I think, very important. It is very important. There it is again.
I think we don't. I mean, that's a very good point, and I don't think people think about that. I remember, it may have been 2012, 13, around that time. It was, oh gosh, that seems like forever ago. But people were like demonizing having a list. I was a list person. Like we've talked about before, I had a list when people like made me mad, but I also had a list for relationships, like a mental list. I'm not like actually writing it down, but like a mental list of what I wanted in a person.
So you had some green flags.
Yeah. Well, and some red flags.
Oh,
like
sure. But I'm saying most of the time people talk about the red flags. I'm just saying you had red flags.
Yeah. And so I just would like list everything out. I want this. But it's funny because like the older I got, the more mature I got, far as like learning about relationships. Like I would watch a lot of like sermons or like different conferences and things like that about relationships, because I realized that like I didn't really know what a real relationship, a healthy relationship looked like. I love my parents dearly, and they were married for 25 plus years. I don't remember how many before they got divorced. But they never fought or anything in front of me and my brother, but they were just like friends. And so I remember when they got divorced and my mom made me and my brother go to counseling, and the therapist asked me like, what do you know about relationships? And I was like, well, I like a lot of romantic movies and things like that. And I realized like I based my list off of stories that people wrote and not real life. And then that's when I had to search out like, what do I really want? And things like you were talking about, like someone that can have a conversation with me that's like not surface level, like we can talk about things, or you know, someone that can deal with conflict resolution, because I dated someone that could not, and it was always my fault, and I would take it on and be like trying to fix everything myself. So like you start learning those things, but you don't learn those things if you never get out of the cycle of just swiping right to what your eyes see.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I don't think I really was around any healthy relationships growing up. I mean, I was around some, right? My friend's parents was married, and they seemed to have a good marriage, and that was something that I saw. I was like, okay. And one of my uncles got married when I was in high school. He's still married to his wife, and they have a really great relationship. It seems to be very genuine. And he actually gave me some really good advice when I was in college. His wife had gone out of town, and I was like, "Unc, you ain't like nervous about her being out of town? Like, that's crazy. I could never. Like, I gotta be with my lady." He's like, man, he's like, I can't stop her from doing anything that she want to do. If she wants to go out there and she wants to cheat, it is what it is, because I can't control her, and I can't keep her from doing the things that she's going to do regardless. The only thing I can do is just love her. And if I love her enough and I love her right, then I ain't got to worry about none of that stuff. And I said, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I didn't really understand that until almost 20 years later.
Pause.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, bro, that's crazy. But I trust my wife, you know what I'm saying? Like, if, you know, she's a beautiful woman. And I know she loves me. And we have built enough good rapport with one another to know that what we are building is something that we want to last a lifetime. And again,
he gets on my nerves, but I ain't going nowhere.
But again, you know what I'm saying? If we want to say, hey, we've been married for 50 years, you're going to go through some trials and tribulations. And that doesn't necessarily have to be somebody stepping out. But, you know, those...
Just life.
When you hear the stories of those older people, we've been married for 70 years. You know, they're like, baby, y'all ain't got no stamina. You know, that's
literally what
they always say.
Roll with the punches.
You know, so, but we just, you know, we're starting to ramble, but we really appreciate you guys checking us out, and we pray that you come back with us and check out Happily Ever After Hours and check out this series, because we're going to talk about some good stuff.
Yes.
Leading up to the day
that everybody likes.
The love month. They're the day that everybody always circles on their calendar, and some people circle to get out of situations. But
oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but
slimy. Well, thank you guys again. Like he said, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe for sure, so you guys get the notifications when our videos pop up. We'll have videos every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Time. But thank you guys for watching. Until next time, love and peace. Bye.